Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up your telephone and call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socioeconomic issues, any topical issue of the day, any issue trending. We speak about it. So you can give us a call. The number to call is 442-0175. YouTube, and Facebook. So you can get us there. And we always encourage you to like and share our program and subscribe to RealFM. It's always advantageous to the program and to the station and to us if you subscribe. But share our program. And I like to encourage people who listen to my program to encourage children to listen to me. Yes? So you can give us a call. You could open bat if you want. You know, one of the challenges we have in Grenada, in fact, I believe one of the biggest challenges we have in Grenada is education. And that's what this is. It's satisfying. And I decided to talk about it after discussing it in the rum shop and with some of my colleagues for many years. I thought perhaps this was one issue that should be taken on the radio. The productivity level in school. I'm not too preoccupied or perturbed with the subject matter. Sometimes when you speak about productivity, individuals involved want to use distraction technique, diversion, move it from productivity to technical education. The primary and secondary school in Grenada today, generally you have children going to school for 13 and a half years. Yes, caller, welcome.
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my sister, welcome.
So many of our underprivileged people in our communities are out and about assisting us in every way. And a lot of the time this go unnoticed. A young man, sometime last week, lost his life while trying to pick a breadfruit for somebody in the neighborhood. To the family, I say be strong and God is good and you'll find comfort. And I do hope that those involved do assist in some way or the other with, their burial, because it's not quite easy to bury a loved one when you have sudden deaths and so to them I say be strong. And I want to say a heartfelt thank you for those who have made it possible so that monies can be made available to our young people, middle-aged people, business people in the communities through the CES program. Lots of people have received this money, and I want to urge that they make good use of it and improve their lives and improve their businesses. Let us all be grateful. And to those who have made it possible before, it's okay to have monies in the bank and to have money in the accounts. But if you're not investing it and if you're not making proper use of it, then it's of no use to us. So to all of those who made it possible, I just want to say again thank you. And to all of those who have received it, let us be positive about it. Because at the end of the day, color does matter. You hear green saying only yellow gets, and you hear yellow saying only green gets. So let us stop the blame game and be grateful and share what we have with each other. God bless you, Mr. P, and have a great day.
Thank you, sister. And, it always saddens your heart when an individual accidents take place. Individual fall from a tree and die. You have another individual, I think, that is buried today in St. Patrick's. And he fell from a tree a couple months ago, and it seems as though he succumbed to his injuries. These things are always sad and unfortunate. And it doesn't seem to, we don't have no program addressing these issues. The people who most likely would climb a breadfruit tree or coconut tree or a mango tree are the people who work in the agricultural sector or individuals who don't even have a job. They do odd jobs. They only hustle. So they go and pick coconut for you here and there, and somebody call them to pick a breadfruit. There's no NIS payment in these kind of jobs. Sometimes they're on substance abuse. And they will climb irrespective of the condition of the state there. They don't have any safety measures protecting them. What they used to do when they are 18 and 19 years, they still believe they could do it at 30 and 40. At 18, 19, or 20, maybe they hardly used to take substance like coke or excessive consumption of alcohol. If you want an individual to get breadfruit for you in the night, they will climb trees in the night. But as they get weaker, as the substance abuse take greater effect on the body, their hands are not as safe as it used to be in yesteryear. Over the last 5 years, I know of 4 or 5 individuals that meet their maker from falling off trees. I don't know what could be done about these things. There is no program addressing these issues. These are the issues in the community that sometimes have you baffled. Most of these people did not have a good education. They don't have a permanent job. They only hustle. Safety is no longer part of their agenda as they try to eke out a daily living. Sometimes there are individuals too that come afoul of the law. The same people who run them down and call the police for them and sometimes jail them is the same people who go back to them and call them to pick the coconut or pick the breadfruit. It's amazing, you know. St. Augustine said, there goes I if it wasn't for God. When we see them on the street, maybe we would culture more compassion in our heart if we say, there goes I if it wasn't for God. Over the years, I've been looking at some of the individuals who are on the street, those we call vagrants, are those who constantly hustling on the street, particularly the males. And I've been trying to find out what their life was. What happened in their childhood? They went to school for 13 and a half years. And some of them never really make it. Some of them had come afoul of the law. Some of them cannot hold on a permanent job. And they only hustle. And some of the challenges of life take its toll. Then they meet in an accident. They cannot get the best medical health care because that's the poor of the poor. That's the marginalized. That's not the one that have medical health insurance. Quite a lot of public officers have medical insurance. Teachers have medical health insurance. Policemen, nurses, some of the people in electricity, telephone, the utility bodies, people in the medical health schools, some of them have medical health insurance. These people, the marginalized, have none. These are the people we turn up with nose on. These are the people we treat very badly in society. By the time the body is put into the grave, they will only remember him, perhaps when they have a coconut tree to climb, or a breadfruit tree to climb, or mango to pick. But there are a number of other young people that would take the place. Perhaps we have to adopt St. Augustine. There goes I, if it wasn't for God. I think Christianity helped to bring out, to soften us up a bit. But as the secular world takes its control on our society, and now people want the right to change their gender. I think in Ireland today, they have a big issue because they want the right for somebody to change their sex. A 16-year-old have the right to change their sex. They don't have the right to marry. They don't have the right to drive a vehicle. They don't have the right to consume alcohol, but they have the right to change their sex. And you have the question of homosexuality. The people who believe they have a right for a woman to be with a woman, a man to be with a man, and for the country to pass laws to facilitate the process legally. Now, these things are happening in our society. And as we move away from the Christian faith and religion in particular, you have the secular world where anything goes. The girls say now, I like the idea that sometimes you speaking to young women and they ask them if they churchy. They tell you, no, they don't churchy. They don't meddle about the church. And they claim they're very liberal. And they also say the body is theirs. So they could put any mark on it. Sometimes it's great amusement and entertainment because you want to see the tattoo below the neighbor. Sometimes all the faces is, I don't know if to say they contaminate the face with rings and tattoos. That may not sound nice in the ears, but that's what it seems to me, somebody that in tongue long. Because they don't have to pay no attention to Christianity anymore. When I speak about that, I always remember, I kind of like that fella, Jesus Christ. I find he's a good fella. He is the one perhaps that make it much better for women in our society. Because Islam and a number of other religions don't give women all this recognition. If you are a Muslim and you follow the Islamic religion, a man could have 5 wives. And he could beat his wife. The Quran says you could admonish her. You could deny your bedroom. And you could beat her. But Christianity take a much softer approach and different. And they say a man must love his woman as he loves himself. The woman don't have to love the man. The woman have to respect her man. She shouldn't dilute his significance. She should respect him. But the man's supposed to love the woman as himself. Sometimes we get it mixed up, you know. Yeah, man saying the woman don't love them. Woman don't have to love you. But you have to love her as you love yourself. She have to respect you. And these are the challenges we have in the society. Sometimes when I look at my society, a little bit worried. I find the schoolhouses like a factory, producing individuals with antisocial behavior. In Jamaica today, a number of parishes are operating under state of emergency. This thing going on almost 2 years now. You hear politicians accusing the artists, the musical artists, for helping to deteriorate the society. I don't, I say it's the education system. The education system is unproductive. And more of our population, it is very uncompetitive. They cannot rise to the occasion. The skill set and the education they have make it difficult for them to get a job. The intelligence is lying to them. They're tricking them. They're deceiving them. Right in Grenada today, a new government coming out within the last 6 months. And the government lie to the marginalized. They deceive them. They trick them. They promise them that they would have a job. They promise them if you do nothing wrong, don't expect to lose your job. They promise them you on contract, we will make you permanent. They informed them it was illegal to have you working the way you do. They said the government was lawless. They claim it is easy to do with the stroke of a pen. The stroke of a pen basically means that you go to cabinet on a Monday and you take the decision changes. The very said government, the very said people. Sometimes it saddens your heart. And you ask yourself, why? You have to fire somebody on the 13th of January, but they get the letter on the 15th of January that they've been fired on the 13th of January. Now, how that could be moral, how that could be ethical, how that could be right? And who are the ones that are doing it? Educated, intelligent individual in our society that is tricking the marginalized. That is what I see in our school system today. 70% of the children that exit school cannot meet the basic requirements. When you speak about it, you get the wrath of all educators. When you speak about the politician, they're telling you about technical education. They're just deceiving you. Not speaking about technical education. We're speaking about basic education. After 13 and a half years in school, and you leave school without the basic education, you're in serious trouble. 70% of our children cannot meet the basic education in school. Our educators are not addressing it. Over the last 6 months, I've been observing the Minister of Education. And I do not have faith that he could change anything. I believe the hand of the clock is turned back. Our educators now are content. They are satisfied. They will sit on their laurels and continue the status quo at the expense of this country. Children are profiled when they go to school. Now, how could you feel comfortable if you are teaching children and the vast majority of children is not learning what you're teaching? You're supposed to ask yourself, am I teaching the children the chairs or the table? Because if you are paid to teach children and 70% of the children cannot meet the basic requirement, it means you are not a good teacher. If you're a tailor and you have to sew 100 pants And 70 pants is on, the people bring it back. It's not good. It's too tight. It don't so good. You're not a good tailor. If you are making furnitures and 70% of the furnitures that you produce is of poor quality, you're not a good tailor. I like to talk about the sergeant of police because I don't know much about police. But from what I read, the sergeant is one of the hardest workers in the police force. They say the sergeant is the one who do the bulwark. I was told normally they are the one who do the day-to-day activities in the different station. I was told generally they are the one that are the drill masters. So if you give them a group of individual to train, and after 6 months, you cannot get these individuals to match in unison at an acceptable level, you change the sergeant of police. You say he is not a good drill instructor. But in our education system, 70% of the children cannot pass, and we're satisfied with that. And I don't think the Minister of Education would be of any help. In fact, he will turn back the hand of the clock. I saw evidence that individual was provoked to discuss the productivity level. No, they would not bother. You see, go back to your community. I don't want you to believe me when I speak readily. I want you to do a little research. Go back in your community and look at all the individuals who are involved in pre-deal larceny in your community. It's not hard to check what's going on in your community. When you sit down in a rum shop or you sit down in a group of women, meet together and you're gossiping, turn your attention to the community. You know all who is involved in pre-deal larceny in the community. Find out, and you know how much of them are on substance abuse. You know how much of them mental challenges. And you know how much of them who left school without a basic education. And I'm willing to bet you that over 90% of them did not do well in school. The answer, there is a direct relationship between high poverty level in Grenada and the rest of the country and poor performance in school. A direct relationship. Some of the studies and reputable organizations in the Caribbean said that 60% of the people who are looking for jobs do not have the skill set. They do not have the education. They do not have the skills or the talents to get the jobs that are available. So a lot of people are unemployed, not because they don't have jobs. They cannot do the jobs that is available. And it makes it more difficult for governments. So governments have to create jobs for unemployed people. Because if you have high unemployment, you're likely to have more social decadence, more problems in the community, more sexual crimes, more issues with pre-deal larceny. You have to have more police. You will have more families abandoned because they don't have adequate money to take care of themselves in old age. And it comes back on the government. You're going to have more vagrants in the street. Now these things are there. Then to compound that, you have a government that comes in power that doesn't understand that. They're not sensitive to these factors. They see the people who are unemployed as people who should be treated with contempt and scorn. They lie to them with impunity. They trick them. They know that they need these people, so they put a law and they trick them. You have to fire people. You know you fire them. You fire them on the 13th. But they got a letter that they are fired on the 15th. You know the level of trauma that is. You know what it does to the emotionally. You know what it does to the psychic. Now, why is it educated individuals are doing that? And I say for the same reason our children are failing in school. It's the same reason. Because too much of Grenadians believe that when they have an education, they're in a social class and there must be a line of demarcation between them and the others. So when children go to school, they profile the children. So some children from the day they go in school, you could watch children on the school and you know they would not get a good deal in school. And that is why I came on radio, basically. Main reason. To draw to the attention of these parents, you have to take the bull by your hand. They have a decision, take the bull by your hand. You have to recognize that is your. And when I speak principally to women, not to men, a man could help, but I think it falls squarely on the women. That's your responsibility. Why do I say that? 60% of the women leads the household. They're in charge of the house. They don't man. They might have a tourist relationship. A man visit them, but they don't man. They're in charge of the house. They are working women, and they're in charge of the home. And irrespective of what income they have, whether they're working or they don't working, they have to provide food for the children in the house. And let me repeat that. If a woman is in charge of a home and she don't have a man, whether she is employed or unemployed, whether she have a constant income or not, she have to provide food for her children. She have to do what it takes. That is why Tilita go in jail. That's the reason. She had no source of income. So she go in jail for a blogger. Das send her in jail. You give her 3 months. She get 2 planners from the watchman. And up to today, she would tell you, I did not steal the blogger. Now, when you have women who've been working for 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years, and a government change, and you fire these women, you give them a letter on the 5th that they are fired on the 13th. They are not in their 20s. Some of them in their latter 30s, 40s, early 50s. Most of them that involved in this program did not have tertiary education. They did not leave school with a basic education. So it's difficult for them to get in the job market. They were caregivers. Why caregivers? Grenada have the most home for the aged in the region. It's either Grenadians don't have money to mind the people or they don't care. So government comes in now to help. A lot of people who are in the home, they're not paying the home. Government come in and help. The homes, some of them are filled, but there are people who could stay in the house. And government provide a program where these home caregivers, I believe that is the terminology, go and visit them 2 or 3 times for a week and help them with the sanitation and cook a good piece of food for them and clean up the place for them. And they've been doing that for 5, 6, 7 years. So they are adult women, they are mature women in the latter 30s, 40s, 50s. Some of them themselves had children. They're mature, they could deal with these. The National Democratic Congress comes into power and they froth on these individuals. They want to close down the program, but we're speaking about it and others. So they find the people. Sometimes they fire the coordinator and they send a junior, a militant NDC. In one case, she don't take work yet. She started to threaten those elderly women already. Now, what our society is going to come to? And I wonder if there is some evil that have to, because these things are so easy to understand. It's the same group of people you promise that you're going to make permanent. Well, even if you cannot make them permanent, why not continue with the status quo? You don't have a money problem. You have money. Because the treasury, you meet the treasury well stocked. You have money. Money is not the issue. You promise to buy 2 planes. You don't have to buy the plane again. You say it don't make no sense. So you have money. You got 10 million from Saudi Arabia for budgetary support. So what evil that possess you? What would happen to these people, children in this school? And that's where my concern really goes. Because when the National Democratic Congress incorporate political victimization, and you've seen it how it plays out in the village, what's going to happen to the children, particularly those of loudmouth NNP? Would you give them a fair deal in school? Would the children get a fair chance in school? The children already knows that a mother lost a job because she was involved because of politics. The children knows that the principals of schools are the one to select the auxiliary staff. Would you give the children a good deal in school? Is that right? I like Jesus Christ, I think he's a good fella. You know, Christ took ordinary folks of fishermen as his disciples. The Christian doctrine was propagated, evangelized not by scholars, not by men from academia, ordinary fishermen. Maybe that's why when you have a juror system, they use ordinary people to be jurors because it doesn't seem we could trust people in academia where morality is concerned and this common decency. Why is it the National Democratic Congress have this natural affinity to go after the older people in our community and harm them? You did that in 2008. You go after these people. You even use the same people to advertise the program that you're going to give them $400. And then you go after the same people. Now, why? This is why and you silence somebody moderate, the older NDC that was moderate, you silence them, you know. One of your directors said choppy on them. I was shocked when I heard that, you know. I couldn't believe. And then some of these social media warriors, when I saw the posts, they say make it stale, you know. And I was shocked to see some of the members of the National Democratic Organization that was giving them thumbs up. Before I speak, I look to hear if the core NDC, the executive members, would disassociate themselves from those statements and condemn it. I heard not one of them. And then you make a farewell party for the older members of your function. So you silence them. I wish some of them have the gumption to say to the members of the National Democratic Congress, you're on the wrong trajectory. This cannot be in your political interest. You're going to cause serious division in the community. You're going to tear the social fabric of our society. And if the teachers in school are not careful, they're going to continue that victimization in school. I believe parents have to take the bull by the hand and pay attention to your child, particularly between the age of 0 and 12 years. That is the critical period. If you are able to assist your child between 0 and 12 years, then your child will be able to stand the trauma and the rigors of the education system and still be successful. I think it's very important. There are some parents in Grenada that understand that. Maybe about 15% of them understand that. And the children are doing very well in school. And some of them don't care. They only care about the children. They're not even helping the neighbor child. They're not saying a word. They're not condemning the low productivity in school because their children are doing well. Maybe about 15% are doing well. But 70% of the children in our education system is not doing well. And as a result of that, it would make the possibility of them getting a job much more competitive on the job market. Difficult for them. I see mechanics had to leave mechanic and go and sell roti, go and drive a vehicle, because they do not have the education, they don't have the skills to deal with the challenges of modern day vehicles. They're not computer savvy. Because they're weak in common, it's difficult for them to learn. They don't have the discipline. It was never instilled in them. There was a mechanic, but the vehicles now are computerized and testing and meters and they can't handle it. So they prefer to abandon the mechanic, go and drive a vehicle, sell snacks on the road. I see all these things going on. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good afternoon.
Yes, my brother.
Mr. Pierre, my heart goes to the single mothers. Right? Mr. Pierre, it is not easy to be a single parent. Right? And when you walk in, and so based on what you're working for is next to nothing. And what happens again, Mr. Pierre, sometimes the fathers of some of the children, they are alive and they're working for good money. But because they were the mother of the children, they can't see eye to eye. They turn around and they hate the children, they despise the children. What now? I do believe they should pass a law. One, there you evidence to prove that child is that you're working. You have to match child chill that child with that age, adulthood. The father should mind his child. We always say, no matter what happened with you and the child mother, but your child is your child. Your child will always remain your child. But the mother of your children, don't always remain your girlfriend or your wife. Alright? I want to say again, Mr. Pierre, when you walk in as a man or a single mother, and you lost your job, life was difficult when I was working to make ends meet, and now you're out of a job, I, and you cannot, you don't afford you don't have the money to give your children a proper meal to go to school on money time, because based on what the children consume on money time, it could affect them in their learning, right? And even some of the fathers, when the single mothers lost the job, they were rejoicing, and that same mothers, the mothers that lost the children, lost the job, right? They can afford to manage children. The fathers outside they working, and they will not even reach out separate and say, well, the mother of my child was working, they're not working. I will reach out to help them so they can get a proper education. They were rejoicing that the mother of the children lost the work. So I call up, there should be a pass. Once the evidence could prove that child is yours and that child is underage, you have to mind that child. I'm saying, what happened? What are we sad about it? Sometimes when that single mother, when I'm single parents, uh, she she lost her job, she's still going to do whatsoever she do to give that child a good education, and that child is successful. Then you see the fathers coming and say, "That's my son." But where were you all the time? Where were you all the time to get to help that child, grow that child, bring the child in the proper way, and to see that child get a proper meal on money time, so that they could go to school and to learn well. We are based. If the child cannot get a proper meal, that could affect the child from from being successful in life. That's my base.
Thank you, caller. And caller, that's a very important subject matter, and it begs a lot of discussion. What happened? We're not having discussion on these subject matters. 10% of children have wrong fathers. 10% of the children outside there were given wrong fathers. Sometimes the mothers don't even recognize that the fathers that the fathers they give the children that they give to the father, they may not even recognize that that father is not the father because of the promiscuity in our society, because of the amount of men partners men and women have. It goes back to people speaking about that in the church and Christianity, and sometimes addressing these issues with men. Because it's not easy for a man in some communities minding a bad child. What the local parents. Sometimes he hugging up the child, everybody laughing. So it has a greater challenge. 10% of the children in our society have wrong fathers. To some men, it doesn't matter. There are some instances when men will meet women with children and help them. You will shock to see how we show love and care and attention to children. And it doesn't matter whether it's his or not. There are instances where men have children with women, and the man buying chicken and call his child alone and eat the chicken with the child or ice cream or whatever. And it's causing real problem in the house because the other children cannot handle it. You go out and eat Kentucky with your father. When you come back, they drop some lash on it. Or you go out and drink ice cream, or you buy an expensive toy and the others don't have. So it's a challenge. And that is why we should support no government that takes advantage on women that work. I have very little respect. I read an article from a gentleman who always called my program, and he wanted to know if, I was looking for the article, I read it, if there isn't anything that this government do. You see, I'm condemning, yeah. You will condemn every department of this administration because you can't get the enjoy under any administration. But you know this one. But he's basically saying that what is it? I'm not saying anything good that the government did. Well, he has been propagating what the government did good. Because it's difficult to find something that is transformative, that is dramatic, that the National Democratic Congress did in the last 6 months. And I have always taken a soft position on politicians because I think politicians are under a lot of pressure. But the Prime Minister lied. The Prime Minister lied for the marginalized. The Prime Minister is firing women. Women who are working 5, 6, 10, 15, 17 years. The Prime Minister ought to know. And if he don't know, other ministers in his government and other NDC individuals that 60% of household is not a and why they find these women? It's not because of money, because provision is made for them. You meet the treasury pregnant, you have money. Saudi Arabia gave Grenada $10 million for budgetary support. The Prime Minister is so confident in the economic situation of the government that he gave tax break to taxpayers. The National Democratic Congress have a history. Every time they come in power, the older people and the marginalized people loses their job. Honesto, that is what's important to me. You could speak about the good the government doing. I am saying that if the government continue on that trajectory, we're going to have more violence in this country. We're going to have more sexual abuse and sexual crimes. We're going to have more children leaving school bitter and angry because their mother can't feed them no more. You fire the mother from the job. That must of every macho Grenadian. If you live in the community that I do, and because I'm on radio and I speak about these things, people give you the letters. I have a couple letters now again. And you listen to them. What is the justification? The government tricked these people. They told them they're going to make them permanent. They give them a promise. If you get permanent, you will be able to go to the bank and get a loan. They chastised the previous government. They said the government was lawless. And the act of making them on contract was illegal. The government set up the workers in Grand Bay Estate. They set them up. They told them the estate is earmarked for the growing of weed, or words to the effect. The permanent secretary told them they was doing a good job. He applauded them. And then the government sent them home. What is there to applaud? Dick Mitchell says he's going to buy 2 planes or whatever to address the issues in the OECS. Inter-island traveling. I mean, what is there to applaud the government for? How could you have these intelligent people that sat down and planned lies and dish lies? Sometimes when they're under pressure, they might excite the truth or say something that wasn't true. The government lied. I encourage Onisto and any member of the National Democratic Congress to go and listen to the Prime Minister's interview with Mr. Forrester. Mr. Forrester is a member of NDC. Go and listen to that interview. Listen to the Prime Minister's interview with the journalist in Tobago when he speaks about restorative justice. Listen to it. Now, the Prime Minister of a country must be believable. Look at how the Prime Minister dramatized the issue with the 400 workers that involved in the schools, hand sanitizing, and making certain that they minimize the risk of infection in the school. You have some schools now with a lot of incident of cold. A lot of incident of colds. Look at how the Prime Minister dramatized it. The Prime Minister seems to be knowingly telling lies to the marginalized. So how could you work with that? And the ministers have to be careful, because while you seek cooperation, you can't seek cooperation while people going out of the jobs. And I said before already, I don't care about public office job. They don't have much of a problem because they will be compensated. They have strong unions and a sympathetic public service. So you could transfer them around and make their life difficult. But any smart public officer will use that opportunity to educate himself, or he could, if he's already qualified under the pension scheme, should be smart enough to take pension and be in a better position. But the people I'm speaking about, they're not that competitive on the job market. This is the people, honesto, that you need to address. Ministers, parliamentary representative, if you want to cooperate, you could do what you want. Make certain that workers don't lose a job. And the government cannot use technicality, because the government promised them they will make them permanent. The least the government could do, don't fire the workers. Re-employ the workers on Grand Bay Estate. Grand Bay Estate now, I think, have 3 workers. They cannot harvest it. The government must tell us how much money they pay now. for Elif. Tell us, you want to close down marketing board? You plan to sell Grand Bay Estate, so you're creating the environment to tell the public how much money you're losing in Grand Bay Estate. While you refuse to crops in the soil. This is the challenge we have on this too. You must tell us what good the government does. So far, this government is going to tarnish, tear the very fabric of our society and turn the hand of the clock back. We want to thank you for being with us today. We're back with you tomorrow between 12 and 1 for another program of On Target and give you an opportunity to punch